What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my refined review and builds guide for Thrasir, Peony, and New Year Lethe. Thrasir and Peony also got their remixes, and in my opinion Thrasir is the winner out of this batch. So she does have this weapon effective on dragon units, and after she attacks, she's still going to be inflicting the Omni -4 debuffs on the nearest ally, so that does not change. But now with this weapon refine, she's able to get +10 to all of her stats, and also -1 special cooldown and full null follow-up. And finally, she's also able to neutralize any kind of buffs on opponent's speed and resistance. So it is basically dull speed and resistance. So overall, this weapon refine is definitely pretty nice. Having the full null follow-up is going to be great with the desperation of killing intent, and -1 special cooldown is going to be having good synergy with Time Pulse 3 or even Time Pulse 4 that she can run in her slot C. Her weapon refine is going to be really helpful, but her killing intent plus is also going to be really helpful in making her as a better unit. So killing intent plus now inflicts exposure on the nearest foes within 5 spaces, and then also inflicts that on the foes that are within 2 spaces of those foes. And she's going to be able to inflict the -5 speed and resistance debuff on the foe if they are not at full HP or if any kind of penalty is active on them. And she also gets the desperation effect out of this skill. So exposure is going to be counted as a penalty, which is going to be activating the secondary condition of the skill really easily. And even if Thrasir is not going to be attacking anyone, she's still going to be providing the exposure status to your team. And that is really good in a season where it is very centric around save units and tanking because of Elimine. Now keep in mind that Elimine can still disable the activation of the exposure status, but that is good. If the Elimine user targets Thrasir, then they're not going to be targeting someone like maybe Arvel or Bridal Catria on your team. So having more targets for the Elimine user is always good, because then they would have to pick between the target that they have to fault start. So killing intent plus is definitely pretty nice, and it's not really going to be making her as good as Yune is in the Dark season. So she's definitely not like the Yune of the Anima season or anything like that, but she's going to be much better, at least. And I still think that Mirabolus, Arvel, and Formortis are going to be the better Anima mythics. And with how Formortis can shut down some of the player phase strats, Thrasir can definitely take advantage against the players which are trying to tank your team. And the exposure status is definitely going to be pretty good. And her weapon refine overall does give the things which she needed. And ignoring the speed and resistance buff of the foe is really good, because usually the foes that are going to be tanking are going to be having the visible buffs. And Elimine does give the visible resistance buff from her weapon. So this is pretty good, all things considered. She could also be used in Summoner Duels as actually with Bridal Catria, because she does have the null follow-up in her weapon now. And she is going to be able to quad attack and just do a lot of damage, and it is going to be helpful against the Dragon Farsight tanks that you might be facing. Inflicting exposure status on the enemies is definitely a pretty nice support, and in something like Summoner Duels this is going to be helping your allies do 10 true damage to the foes that are inflicted with the exposure status. So it is going to be really helpful even when she's not going to be participating in the combat, both in Aether Raids defense and in Summoner Duels. So if you want to build up Thrasir on a budget, then you can simply run her with Attack Speed Ideal 4 and Blade Session. Attack Speed Ideal 4 is her remake skill, so make sure to learn this skill, and she can just run this basic build and function fine. But in my opinion, if you're going to be investing a lot of resources into her, then she can definitely run the Finish skill and Time Pulse 4. So now that she has got -1 special cooldown in her weapon, she can basically pre-charge a Ruptured Sky and actually trigger it twice in the player phase. And because she's going to be triggering special really easily with Time Pulse 4, she's going to be able to make use of Attack Speed Finish 4, and that is going to be able to provide her with extra damage and also the healing. So this is a pretty expensive build that you can run. One of the shortcomings of Thrasir as a unit is definitely going to be the fact that she's not going to be able to get the tempo effect, or not going to be able to run Special Spiral 4 in her slot B, because you would have to run Killing Intent Plus. So compared to other mages, she's going to be missing out on that effect. And if you want to use her in Summoner Duels, then she could definitely be used with an AoE build, because exposure does add to the AoE damage. So she can definitely be run with someone like Duo Chrom or Duo Asker and simply pre-charge your AoE special. And she could even be run with the other builds without the AoE special build in Summoner Duels, like I said, with Bridal Catria, and you're still going to be able to do a decent job. So for the people who run AoE Thrasirs, the Killing Intents exposure status is definitely pretty good. And you can just run her with the other builds without an AoE special, and you can easily use something like Flash of Steel so that she can get the Null Guard effect, which is going to be helping her tremendously. Because like I said, the tempo effect is definitely one of those things which she's kind of missing from her kit. You can also use her in Aether Raids defense with Attack Speed Unity and Blue Feud. So Blue Feud is definitely there for the Brave Hectors, for the Brave Dimitris, and Attack Speed Unity is going to be helping you because many people do run Sabotage Attack on their Elimine, and if they run Sabotage Speed on their Plumeria or anything like that, then she's going to be getting debuffed, and the Unity skill can definitely help you in Aether Raids defense for that. So it could be run, and you can just run Blue Feud so that it can be a bit more annoying to the blue tanks that are trying to tank against your team. You can also run Attack Speed Unity with Oath Force skill so that she can have the teleportation, and even if she gets panicked, the Unity skill is right there for dealing with the debuffs. And Ruptured Sky is going to be a pretty nice special on her because she already has the effective damage against dragons. So doubling down on that is going to be making her a pretty nice Dragon Slayer, and it is also going to be giving you extra damage against the beast opponents, and there are definitely quite a few beast far save units. If you invest into her with plus and merges, then she can definitely be used as a scoring unit in Colosseum game modes like Arena and also in Mjolnir Strike. So K.Intent Plus is a 300 SP slot B skill, so you can just run 300 SP slot A and slot C skill, and she can score like a 180 BST unit. So G-Dual Infantry is definitely going to be helping her quite a lot, and Time Pulse 4 is going to be making sure that Ruptured Sky is always pre-charged. Peony gets a weapon refine that is rather offensive in nature, and she also gets a remix to her Gentle Dream. So now with this weapon refine, she's going to be able to have crossbar attack speed plus 4. So that is basically the upgrade that you get out of her weapon refine to the support part. Everything else is just offensive in nature, so she's able to get plus 8 to all of her stats in the combat, and also gets a guaranteed follow-up attack, and she can heal up 7 HP to herself and the allies in the cardinal direction after the combat. So this weapon refine is pretty offensive in nature, and Peony is mostly going to be dancing. She's not going to be participating that much in the combat, so this kind of combat-centric weapon refine is not the greatest on a dancer like her. But still, I guess if you're going to be leaving her as the unit who's going to be taking the hit from some kind of leftover opponent, and maybe you're collecting the bots, then she's going to be having much better survival now because of the extra speed and the extra bulk that she can get. So that is going to be her main use, because as someone who Gale Forces a lot, I often leave my Peony in the range of, many of the opponents so that I can collect the pots, just to stall them out. And now with the plus 8 speed and buff, she's at least going to be able to survive a bit better. The guaranteed follow-up attack does help whenever you will attack, but that is not going to be very often with a dancer like Peony, especially when her Gentle Dream Plus is so good. So the best thing that she has gotten in this update is definitely her remix and not exactly her weapon refine. So Gentle Dream Plus now gives plus 4 buff to all of her stats, to the target ally and the allies in the cardinal direction. And she can also provide the orders buff as always, and now she can also provide the debuff neutralization status to many of the allies, which is absolutely amazing. So debuff neutralization is actually a status effect which is not affected by the feud status of Embla, which is really good, because if you're going to be trying to use a ranged tank like Goto, then he doesn't really have the slot A skill flexibility to run a Unity skill to get past the debuffs, and Yune is going to be pretty popular with the debuffs, so debuff neutralization is going to be helping units like them just tank a bit better, and this is also going to be helping the player face teams, because even then Yune is going to be annoying. Now, it's worth mentioning that with the debuff neutralization, it doesn't mean that Yune is not going to be able to do massive amounts of damage. She does have the proxy dominance essentially, so even after the debuff neutralization on your allies, she's going to be able to do a lot of damage, and we have seen this before where Bridal Fiorm did have the joint debuff neutralization, and even then Yune was able to do a lot of damage, so it is kind of like that. So the only thing that you're going to be able to tank Yune a lot easily now is just that her debuffs are going to be a lot annoying on the unit themselves, and especially if you're trying to play her phase. So I do use a lot of Gale Force teams, and I've lost a decent amount of ladders because of the debuffs of Yune, which are really annoying, and Peony would have definitely saved me there with the debuff neutralization status that she can give. So overall, this is definitely a pretty amazing upgrade, because this is extremely unique. We didn't really have anything like this before in the game, like a status effect which has got debuff neutralization. So having this as a visible status does make it Emblem proof, and it does help you against the debuffs from Yune. Bright Shrine, Dark Shrine, the schools, and all of that. So that is definitely going to be pretty amazing for the support that Peony can do. Peony was already such a good mythic dancer that she didn't really need too much, so this kind of buff to her Gentle Dream Plus is definitely pretty good, but it definitely kind of sucks a bit that her weapon refine is a lot more combat centric than providing any more support or doubling down on the support like you would want out of a dancer. So Gentle Dream Plus is definitely going to be the upgrade here, which is going to be making her even better as a dancer. So if you want to run her on a budget, you don't really need to change too much. You can definitely try and run Fury 3 because she does get the extra stats to all of her stats from her weapon refine. So Fury is going to be working out pretty nicely here just for stacking up more stats. And you can just run Crossbar Resistance, which is her remix skill. So she already has Crossbar attack and speed from her weapon. So Crossbar Resistance is basically going to be helping in the cardinal direction allies, and you can just run Drive Attack or any kind of supportive Sacred Seal that you want. And she can also run Wings of Mercy in her Slot B skill and run Aerobatics as a Sacred Seal, and then Slot C is going to be pretty flexible. And if you're going to be wanting to run Peony more offensively, then you can definitely run Attack Speed Catch 4 and also run her with a Fortress skill. So the mobility that you get out of the Fortress is often going to be pretty helpful on a dancer, and you can also run Joint Drive Attack so that she can not only benefit from this herself but also provide the support to her allies. So if you want to run a more offensively oriented Peony that can make use of her weapon refine, then this is something that you can run, but most people are just going to be using her for the support and nothing really else. Finally, if you do Plus and Merger, then she's going to be an amazing dancer in Colosseum game modes and in Arena, even though she doesn't really score the highest. So you want to run her with B-Dual Flying 4 and also with the Dual Chill skill in the Slot B, which is a 300 SP passive. And then you can also run Infantry Speed Tactic or Crossbar Attack, which is just going to be a much better supportive skill, especially Infantry Speed Tactic, giving that null follow-up to your high-scoring infantry units is definitely going to be pretty nice. New Year Lethe gets a pretty decent weapon refine that can just double down and help her with some of the effects which she really needed. So her weapon does provide her with +3 speed, and she can get true damage up to +7 based on the difference between her speed and foe speed. And she does have the speed-based damage reduction, which can go up to all the way 40%. And now with this weapon refine, she's able to get +10 attack and speed in combat. And she also gets Phantom Speed 3, which is definitely going to be helping her get the damage reduction. And she gets the full null follow-up. So this is not the most insanely stacked weapon refine, but still it gives the things that she really needed. And Phantom Speed 3 is definitely going to be helpful with the damage reduction that she can get from her weapon. I just wish that she just got some extra stats to her defense and resistance, because she's effectively going to be functioning in the mix phase. And full null follow-up is going to be really helpful on a unit like her who is pretty fast. So her bread and butter is definitely going to be stacking up as much speed as she possibly can to get the max damage reduction, and she can even run Speed Smoke 4 now, which is going to be helpful in doubling down on the damage reduction. So if you want to run New Year Lethe on a budget, then you can even run her with Windsweep if you want to, because she does get the full null follow-up out of her weapon, but Lull Speed defense, which she comes with her base kit, is decent enough. So you can just run Speed Smoke 3 on her, which is going to be helpful with her weapon, and just run the Solo Sacred Seal. And the Solo Sacred Seal is going to be having good synergy with her weapon's condition, where in the enemy phase she needs to be solo to get the extra attack and speed. You can also run Attack Speed Catch 4 and run Speed Smoke 4. So like I was saying, you can just double down on the damage reduction. And with the Phantom Speed built into her weapon, this is going to be a lot better now. And you can just run Speed Defense Near Trace in your Slot B, because that is going to be giving you the mobility. And it's really amazing because she already has the full null follow-up in her weapon, so she can freely run the Trace skill. And as it is, BC nuts don't really have too many options. So this is pretty much one of the builds that you can run on her. And if you want to have a more player phase approach, then you can definitely try and run Surge Sparrow on her, because she does have the full null follow-up as well as the impact effect. So she's going to be having pretty good survivability in her player phase, and this can be used so that she can get the damage reduction with her weapon refine, and then she can heal up HP by using Surge Sparrow and Moonbow. You can also use her at max investment or at high investment by running Attack Speed Clash 4 and also running Beast and Trace. So Beast and Trace is going to be helping you transform a lot easily, and it is still going to be giving you the Trace effect, but you can still run the usual speed defense Near Trace on her, honestly, if you just want to get the debuffs. So Clash Kill is going to be giving you the attack and speed debuff neutralization, which is definitely pretty nice at this kind of high investment. And Speed Smoke 4, like I said, is pretty much going to be the way of building her up at higher investment, because she's going to be appreciating the extra damage reduction from it. And she can also be run with Distant Dart or Distant Pressure just so that she can tank some of the ranged foes, especially with the damage reduction that she can get. So we don't really have access to too many skills that can be run on beast units like defensively. So lull attack speed is pretty much going to be the option here so that you can ignore the attack buffs of the opponent, and their speed buffs don't really matter when you're going to be ignoring that. I'm pretty happy about Thrasir's Refine and Peony's Remix, so let me know in the comments what do you think about these refines. I'll be covering the other ones in a different video, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FE videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as an offensive refine on a dancer. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.